It's that time again. Time for our weekly review of television ratings for the NBA playoffs. I've got to say, the playoffs in the NBA, they've been pretty entertaining thus far. But Adam Silver and the NBA front office, they have got to be freaking out right now. We're going to see a new NBA champion this year. It's not going to be the Lakers, not going to be the Celtics, not going to be the Spurs, not going to be the Warriors. It's going to be somebody new. That's good. But the problem is there is a serious lack of star power left in the playoffs. Trae Young and the Hawks, they're a great story, but Trae Young is not a household name yet. Giannis is a superstar level talent, but it remains to be seen if he is a draw in terms of television ratings. We're about to find that out, and I don't think the results are going to be good. The only major market that the NBA has left in the playoffs is the Clippers, a team who's not even popular in their home market of Los Angeles. Plus, the Clippers' two stars, Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, aren't what I would consider mainstream stars. You go ask your girlfriend or your mother who Steph Curry is, and they probably know. Same with LeBron James, Dame Lillard, Kevin Durant. Go ask your girl who Paul George is. Her likely response is, who the hell is that? My point is, there is a lack of mainstream superstars that are left in the NBA playoffs. I think that we could see very low ratings for the conference finals, but like I said, that remains to be seen. Looking at games featuring Giannis and the Bucks from the second round, the indication would be that Giannis is not a big draw in terms of television ratings. We have the full report on the ratings for the NBA playoffs for the second round. And as expected, the news is not good. It's weird though. For a month now, or since the playoffs have started, all I have seen from the mainstream sports media is how great the ratings have been for the NBA playoffs. The most recent ratings report that I have is from last Friday, June 18th. But I have yet to see one headline from the woke sports media about this ratings report. I wonder why. I wonder if the reason could be that once again, ratings are down double digits when they're compared to 2019, and some in comparison to just last year. Could the woke sports media be burying this story? I'll let you guys decide that. But I can tell you this. If NBA ratings were up double digits, that's all we would be hearing from the woke sports media. Because ratings for the second round have been god awful, it's crickets instead. I cover the ratings once a week, usually on a Sunday, but outside of me and a couple of others here on YouTube, no one else is really talking about this story. Remember how I just said Giannis is not a draw? Game 2 of Bucks Nets, the game where Milwaukee was blown out by like 30 points, was the least watched game of the second round of the playoffs. Now you might be thinking, it was a blowout. That's why the ratings were low. Okay, that's fair. What about game 4? Game 4 was more competitive. It was broadcast on ABC, broadcast television. 4 million people tuned in, which was up 13% from last year in the bubble, but it was down 13% from 2019. So not only was Giannis part of the least watched game of the second round, he's also not beating 2019 numbers. And look, I am not blaming Giannis here. This is not his fault. Now, Giannis is woke, and he was part of the NBA tanking itself last year. Giannis was part of the Bucks who led the league in boycotting the damn playoffs. But there's a bigger point here. If Giannis can't beat 2019 ratings, which let me remind you, the media thought playoff ratings back in 2019 couldn't get any lower than they were then. 2019 ratings were considered bad. If Giannis can't draw in more viewers playing against Kevin Durant, one of the top stars in the league, in the biggest market in the league, what the hell makes anyone think that he's going to be able to draw ratings with Trae Young and the Atlanta Hawks? The Hawks are one of the least popular teams in the NBA. Hell, people in Atlanta don't even support the Hawks. I'm telling you, I think ratings for the Eastern Conference Finals could be disastrous. And it should be a good series between the Hawks and the Bucks. It really should. The problem is the NBA has pushed away so many people because they wanted to be woke that the playoffs are not even on people's radar. Los Angeles is the second largest media market in the country. Kawhi Leonard and Paul George are supposedly superstar players, mainstream guys. Game 3 between the Jazz and the Clippers, 4.1 million people. Now, the woke sports media would tell you that that number is up 39%. But that's from last year. That rating is down 43% when compared to Warriors Rockets back in 2019 in the second round. Game 4, down 3% from the bubble last year and down 52% from 2019. Game 3, Suns Nuggets, 3.9 million. That number is down 2% from last year, but it actually beat 2019 by 8%. Game 4, it was a bit better, 4.2 million, but that's down 22% from last year and down 9% from 2019. As you can see, the NBA is still struggling in terms of television ratings. I went back and I pulled ratings for the playoffs in Major League Baseball. Since the NBA has always been considered the second most popular sports league in America and baseball is number 3, I wanted to see how the NBA's ratings compared to Major League Baseball in the playoffs. Now you have to remember, all of these NBA games, they're being broadcast on ABC, TNT, ESPN. 3 major networks. Keep that in mind as we go through this. I went back to the divisional round of the 2019 MLB playoffs. Now, the majority of Major League Baseball playoff games before you get into the World Series, they're on either TBS or Fox Sports 1. Now, Fox Sports 1 has grown, but back in 2019, they were a small network. In comparison to ESPN, FS1 is still a small network today. The NLDS that year was between the Dodgers and the Nationals. Every game for that series was in the range of 3 to a little bit over 3.5 million people. Game 5, which clinched the series, drew almost 6 million. The NBA hadn't come close to that number this year. Hell, the NBA Finals last year was averaging between 6 and 7 million viewers. Astros Yankees, the 2019 ALCS, they were hitting close to 6 million people. I bring all of this up to show you how far the NBA has fallen. Just 2 years ago, Steph Curry is drawing, 7 million people for a second round series? And here we are 2 years later, and the NBA is struggling to hit 4 million in the second round. They lost 3 million viewers in 2 years. The most watched game of the NBA playoffs so far this year was Game 7 between the Clippers and the Mavs, which drew 5.5 million. Pretty good number. Now, I have a feeling that the sports media is not going to be able to ignore this story with the NBA ratings for long. They're going to have to bring this up eventually, especially if ratings for the conference finals are low, which I expect them to be. If that is the case, the media is going to make excuses. I guarantee you, their number one excuse, they're going to blame the low ratings on LeBron James not being in the playoffs. They're going to bring up the big number for the play-in tournament when LeBron played the Warriors, but I think that was more Steph Curry than LeBron James. The truth is, LeBron James is the primary reason that ratings have tanked the last 2 years in the NBA. Now, another excuse the media will come up with, the lack of star power. They'll blame the NBA for not listening to LeBron James when he said that they should postpone the start of the regular season. And the quick turnaround resulted in stars missing playoff games and eventually having their teams eliminated. Well, that excuse isn't valid either. For one, the players agreed to start the season in late December. It's not like Adam Silver just made this decision on his own. The players' union, they had to agree when they started the season. They agreed because the players wanted the money. They wanted to be paid. But we all know the real reason for the NBA playoffs and their low ratings. I don't even have to mention it. These low ratings were to be expected. I mean, what else would you expect to happen when you alienate half your audience? Before the playoffs began, I predicted that we would see record low ratings for the playoffs like we did in the regular season and like we did last year. Now, that hasn't happened yet, even though some games this year have been lower than the record lows last season. But for the most part, ratings are up compared to last year's record lows in the bubble. But we could still see record low ratings for the conference finals or the NBA finals. We will finally see if Giannis can be a big draw. He's the biggest star left in the playoffs. We'll see if he is able to rescue the NBA, but I have my doubts. All right, what do you guys think? Will Giannis be able to improve ratings for the Eastern Conference Finals? What are your thoughts on the low ratings for the second round of the playoffs? And are you guys even watching the NBA playoffs? Sound off in the comments below. Let me know what you're thinking. Make sure to like and subscribe. Click the notification bell to receive all notifications from the channel. Best way to contact me is by email at btlkc84@gmail.com, KC_BTL84 on Twitter. I'll see you guys later.